These,
Yeah, with the ice waves.
Popping those circuits.
Yeah, indeed, it's possible.
Oh. Sorry. This is their job.
Right.
Calling to order the November 16th meeting of the Historic Resources Commission here in room 204, 111 North Front Street. The time is now 4 o'clock on the dot. The next business meeting of the commission will be Thursday, December 7th, 2023 at noon in room 205, 111 North Front Street on the second floor. The next hearing of the commission being Thursday, December 21st, 2023 at 4 p.m. Room 204, second floor, 111 North Front Street. Swearing in of the staff, Jackman, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening?
I do, Jackman myself.
Thank you. An introduction to the commissioners here present, starting on my far right.
Mike Ford.
Clyde Henry.
Tamika Baba.
Joseph McCabe.
Mega Sinha.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any items for public forum this evening?
There is an item for public forum. It's the proposal to incorporate Brewery District Commission into the Historic Resources Commission.
Okay, wonderful. We'll turn this over to Mark and Jamie.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Commissioners. Mark Travillis, the Planning Division Administrator. You all know Jamie Goodman, the Historic Preservation Officer. And we're here this evening to ask for your support, ask for a vote and support advisory recommendation to incorporate the Brewery District Commission into the HRC, and also to increase the membership of the HRC by 2 members to bring in a couple of currently serving Brewery District Commissioners. And I've got a few bullet points I'll hit here, and then we're happy to answer any questions. As you know, the Brewery District Commission has served the city well for years. We are proposing to bring it into the HRC, which would maintain the same exact standards. It would just be you all would be doing the review instead of that commission. Really, the primary purpose is to create efficiencies. This was originally proposed in a 2008 working report that at the time was endorsed by all of the Preservation Commission chairs. Jamie was part of the team that worked on that. And that report noted that in the peer cities that we've talked to, 82% of them really just had one. The 82% of the cities we talked to really have an HRC. And so there was affirming of this notion of bringing the BDC into the HRC. One thing that we would like to do is with any time saved, staff time saved, that is to look at broader preservation issues into neighborhoods that currently don't benefit from being a district. So we wouldn't anticipate this being a monumental shift, but we think this is setting our sights in the future of what preservation can and should be for neighborhoods outside of the historic districts. One of the really triggers on this is that the Brewery District has consistently had the lowest number of applications of all the commissions, and based on what we've seen, you all can handle this review. And Jamie really has represented well over all the time that we've considered this, that this is really kind of in your all's wheelhouse, if you will, a broader focus, looking at individual listings, looking at districts, if it's Old Beach Wall, if it's Bryden Road, if it's Brewery District. And he has noted in particular that really other than the Brewery District since 87, or other than when the Brewery District was formed, all new districts have been brought into the HRC. So the precedent is there, in particular in 87 or in 94 when the North Market District was incorporated into the HRC. So that's our summary points. Jamie?
The Historic Resources Commission was designed to have a citywide focus, to be able to look at both large and small districts, whatever would come up. And it does align with the notion of having less commissions covering a city's reviews. By incorporating the Brewery District under the purview of the Historic Resources Commission, it is following the previous precedent of the North Market District. Was initially created by itself, and that was brought in. That was in 87 that was established, and then in 94 it was brought into the HRC. This is the same with the Bryden Road District and so It's about being able to see the big picture, look at the same sections of code that you have, apply the citywide standards that you have in your guidelines, and the ability to bring in the existing guidelines of, in this case, the brewery district.
So we went to the Brewery District Commission at their last meeting, and they were unanimous in their support for this recommendation. We have draft code from the city attorney's office now. We're seeking your vote, and the Brewery District sort of used the top paragraph from this handout as their motion, if that suited you all. And it provided your support, we're prepared to submit legislation to city council as soon as we can. With a little luck, they would take it up for consideration in December. So that's the summary, and happy to chat about it.
Before I open up to other commissioners here, just as chair, and as an applicant and having used or gone through the system, I can say that just, I'm really in favor of this movement. I think it's a great thing when we can not only do what we do in preservation, but we can help capitalize on the efficiency that needs to happen, especially for those to have greater maybe appreciation of what it is to be in a historic district. I think more regular enforcement or compliance and opinions also come out of, from unifying these commissions as much as possible. So I'm highly in favor of it, and I would urge my fellow commissioners here to also consider that, but other folks, if they want to offer a comment or opinion.
Yeah, I think I agree. Just a question, doesn't change anything, but I'm curious. So the quorum, so if you go to 9, becomes 12. Got it. And when you say 7 existing members, 6 right now, right? We've been 6 consistently for a long time.
Right.
So what
Right.
would that be? At least in attendance.
I mean, we really
We
need to
still
fill the
would be looking
vacancy.
to a point.
Right.
The city, the planning division, I should say, and our office directly do not take appointments to these commissions lightly. And there's a lot of different boxes that we're trying to help check. And so it will still be that we will appoint the 7th member.
Okay.
In the immediate, the goal would be we pull 2 existing commissioners. Theoretically, you could even evaluate another one. And it's not that they're voting in some block just on theirs. It's that, they're dedicated, skilled commissioners that will serve excellent in this role as well. So the goal would be to have all seats filled, because that's really.
We're gonna get we need to get, we've been interviewing folks lately in, Belka Schoenhalls from our staff. Some of you may know, we've sort of like charged with, here she is tonight, charged with, managing this for us, and she's doing a great job. And we've interviewed people, and we will find somebody, absolutely.
And to put even more of a point on that, in the past, it was much more, I describe it as catch as catch can. Maybe you're at a conference and you've met these folks. We now have a dedicated staff time to developing and finding new commissioners. And so, and Belkis has really been lifting it up. It's really been good. And actually, some of you folks were involved in that process with us in Belkis. So,
Okay.
big difference. Questions?
I have a question for you. Maybe you could talk just a little briefly about the history of the quantity of commissioners. So I'm generally in support of this movement, but I am curious, has the commission ever been to 9?
Other commissions had. And those were brought down at one point, really going into the economic downturn that brought about us making those studies in 2008, that the recommendation initially came out of. We brought commissions down to the same number. In this case, we're very specific, which was 7, because some still existed in the code at 9. And this is very purposeful, that we think that this should have more members on this citywide focus of the Historic Resources Commission.
Yeah, and downtown is the
purposeful.
one other commission that still maintains 9
Yes.
members. And that kind of makes sense, and that sort of has a corollary relative to our other design review areas, East Franklinton and University. They're both 7, but downtown is sort of the most prominent, if you will, is downtown is 9, and we sort of see that with HRC, being appropriate to have 9 members and the others would stay at 7.
Questions?
Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there, well, actually, let's put on record the motion right away. If possible.
I moved, okay, the first paragraph, right?
Yes.
Okay, the planning division is seeking approval to transfer the review authority of the Brewery District Commission to the Historic Resources Commission. Additionally, it is recommended the membership of the HRC be increased from 7 to 9 commissioners, with at least 2 currently seated Brewery District Commissioners appointed to serve on the HRC. That's the motion on the table that I move to approve.
It was approved to, I guess we would be, by the way, would be just a recommending body, just to be
Right.
clear.
So yeah, move to whatever, recommend to approve.
Right.
So there's a motion, is there a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for your
And,
time.
And thank you for your service.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely,
appreciate it.
right. And he's gonna remain the same.
You said.
Okay, thanks a lot. See you.
Thank you.
Moving on to staff approvals. We don't actually have staff approvals, correct? Because we were just, we didn't have quorum. Technically not. Or did we? I guess we moved nothing to staff approval.
Oh,
Well, you have to
I think,
do-
okay,
Okay, let's
There-
have your
There's
existing
regular
staff.
stuff.
yeah.
Yep, okay. Moving on to approval of the staff approval. Sorry for that confusion.
I move to approve the staff approvals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. On to,
To make a motion to approve the minutes from October 19th to the permanent record.
wonderful. Having a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and having a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Moving on to applications for a certificate of appropriateness this evening, starting off with HRC 230103, continued application.
Do you want to swear that one first or the staff would run first?
Let's swear the in first real quick, and then we'll start into staff.
Good afternoon.
If you could raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening?
Yes,
You could state your full name and association with the property for record.
Bruce Quack, and I manage the property.
Wonderful, thank you. Pat.
This application is for 24 East Northwood Avenue. And the proposed work is for modification of landscaping with new hardscape and removal of retaining wall that had collapsed, as well as regrading the area where that retaining wall was removed, removing large bugs and installing perennial plantings, and the installation of venting and soffits. So the property received a code violation in August of 2022 regarding the change of the front yard area, as well as the other components for the soffit and venting. The application was submitted for the January 2023 HRC hearing and continued at that time. So allow the applicant to come back with a revised proposal and then drawing of the proposed plantings. So revised materials were submitted for the July 2023 hearing. The application was continued due to the absence of the applicant and to allow the applicant to attend the following HRC hearing. So the November 2nd business meeting, the commissioners noted that they struggled with the large rocks that are still in place, and asked if the boulder rocks labeled as number 3 on the site plan can be removed. The commissioners noted they are supportive of the proposed boxwood plantings, but noted that these plantings do require more maintenance and understand the applicant would like to reduce the maintenance needed, and so noted that they would be supportive of non-invasive ivy species or similar low maintenance ground cover as well. Commission asked about the size of the daily perennials would be when mature that are indicated on the site plan, and asked to confirm if the venting will be on the underside of the soffit. The commission noted that the venting proposal looks okay, but want to confirm in the discussion at the hearing with the applicant to make sure the commission is interpreting the applicant's proposal correctly. So with that, the staff recommendation is to recommend either approval of application HR 23-01013 at 24 East Northwood Avenue with the following conditions, and that is the applicant submit a revised landscape drawing showing that the majority of the lawn area will be plantings, or continuing application HR 23-01013, again at 24 East Northwood Avenue, to allow the applicant time to revise the application to meet the city code and HRC guidelines. The staff recommendation is based on the city code 316.13, standards for site improvements, letter A, as well as the HRC guidelines regarding historic plants and landscaping, which is found on page 83. Number to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to add anything before we ask some questions? I think I think we needed some clarity as well.
No, I think she did a great job.
Okay,
We've
thank you.
been back and forth with her all summer on the details of what's been changed.
I know, I think coming out of the business meeting most recently, that maybe the biggest question we had, or the question, or the comments that seemed to come forward, was just the appropriateness of the rock band that still seems to be existing in the landscape. And then really wanting to get some input in from those that are more focused on landscape architecture and site planning. There's some additional thoughts.
I think we'd like to hear from the applicant about, what you have right now, the big rocks, that's the biggest concern. And I see that in this, it's changed.
Yeah, we've reduced the number of big rocks from the band, and now we've put more of the boxwoods in. We came back with more plants to get a little bit more green going there. We're hoping that will eventually grow into and spread out the flat plants.
So is that band, the vertical band, that number 3 is written, is that, because the whole thing is a slope, is that like a flat part of it? Is that how you have it?
No, we just kind of laid the rocks in that band like that.
The terrace.
No, it's not terraced. No, it's sloped, and then we put that band down.
What is the reason for the rock or strip or stripe of rock nearby?
You're talking about the large rock?
Yeah.
We have it available, and we thought it would kind of break up just the sight from the street, working as your eye moves up towards the house. Just thought it would give like a pause to your eyes as your head, or your line of sight goes up the planting area there.
So eventually the vegetation should grow. So I think that rock would, that line of sight, I'm not sure would even stay. So I wonder if you just plant that out and
Just take away.
just take away the rocks, because eventually I don't think the design aesthetic you're going for will be covered by the plantings that will grow in a little, and then you just have a gap.
So you're saying infill maybe with more gravel where the larger rocks are?
Yes, it's a gravel with more plants in, like another layer of plants.
Well, we'd like to give the plants a little bit of time to grow and spread across the area there.
I do think it's a little bit of a harder condition that you were asking, especially like plants such as like the daylilies, to grow into. So I think removing a portion, 25% of those larger rocks, opening up some more space to allow those plants to successfully take root and grow through would ultimately help to regreen this slope.
So if we're focusing on the band of rocks going across, do you want me to take it from the top or the bottom?
So,
Take them all out.
it would, ideally, yes, I think
I
that
think
what
it's
we're here as the commission, we would prefer that all of the rocks be removed. The larger rocks, pebbles, those plants will grow.
So I can replace the large rock with the pebbles?
With gravel.
With gravel.
With
I think that would be reasonable.
That's it.
So just to be clear here, so basically on both left and right side, just remove the large rock and replace it with the same kind of rock that's below that.
Small, yeah.
And then follow through with it. I believe we're in agreement then following through with the planting plan that you set forth.
The one that's drawn up.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, is the one that's drawn up, is that was already planted there?
A lot of it's planted there.
Or is it, it looks like maybe there's gonna be an increase in the daylilies? Or am I reading it wrong? I mean, it's hard to see from the planting to the drawing as to which plants those are, but. So I guess I'm asking which ones, when I look at that, which ones are in and which ones aren't?
Well, and maybe even.
I'd say there's less daylily in the ground than is in the lower part of the where it says two, you see the twos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's, can we go back to the photo?
Right,
It
so,
looks like there's like 2 rows installed for that photo, and I think this drawing has 3 rows.
Mhm.
So I think what we're saying is that the drawn plan, that's good as long as the big rocks are removed.
Mhm.
And then what we would need you to submit to staff would be confirming what in that plan is existing that you've already kind of put in and what is remaining that you're going to put in, right? So it's very clear. So that when staff comes back and looks at it, they can confirm that yes, everything that is in the plan is indeed in the ground as well. And I think that should be good.
I think another thing that maybe that part of this is stemming from is the density of the drawing is not reflected in the reality of the picture of what's going on. For me, I think if you pull that row of rock and you add another row of plant material, I think you're gonna be right there. I think it's done. I think you just modify your drawing, get rid of the rocks in the drawing, and I think we're in business.
And would this commission maybe feel potentially comfortable with delegating that to staff to approve once it's resent?
I
Can issue an approval, we'll continue.
what's your plan for deadheading the daylilies? Because they look pretty awful if you don't deadhead them. I mean, they're just dead flowers after a while.
That's a little beyond my ability, but I think what you're saying is you cut them back, right?
It takes a lot of care.
Yeah, my wife kind of handles the plant stuff. So
Okay,
I kind of handle the moving the rocks stuff.
okay.
So, but what you're getting at is that the daylilies need to be cut back.
Yeah, well, I think we don't want it to look like a weed patch with a bunch of dying or stems that have bloomed and now the stems are just sticking up there and the flowers have fallen off and there's just a bunch of sticks there looking bad.
Mhm.
I mean, once you cut them back, you know, unless they're ever blooming like the Salvadora will continue to bloom, but they still have to be deadheaded back, otherwise they're not gonna do that. I just
Okay.
want you to be aware that this shouldn't end up looking like a weed patch.
No, we would like the house to look good, which is why we tackled the project in the first place, because it was
Okay, good.
all those like old school 50s bushes that hadn't been cut since the 50s. And it was just everywhere. So that's why we even started the project.
If they're maintained, they are,
And
they're beautiful
perhaps,
flowers. I've got lots of them.
perhaps even if, you know, if you needed a recommendation, you might recommend a couple of species that are a little easier to care for. They're smaller. I mean, that's not my expertise, of course, but might help the applicant. You know, that might be a possibility.
yeah, I mean, there's phlox, as mentioned, and so that's an easy ground cover that will start to creep over the pressures of those rocks, or the gravel. So that should be pretty easy as far as maintenance goes.
So that's a good one. So you said phlox.
Phlox.
Okay. Is there another perhaps that you?
If you wanted to go the route.
The phlox died. I think it was just the timing of it
Yeah.
when we planted it on the first go around. So we were hoping to have that as well. I mean, it's going to take a year or 2 or 3 to get it to kind of grow and spread out.
I think it'll be good.
So we're trying to sort of step.
Yeah, and real quick, I think the second part of this is just the dryer vent. I think that's just, now that's just a mounted in the
Yeah.
soffit,
Right,
white.
right.
cut
There's,
sheet.
there's,
I think That's amenable, because it's not coming up the brick wall or anything, so
right.
I think you're fine with that, right?
No problem.
Yeah, if there's a motion, that'd be great.
Can we talk a little bit about the wall?
What would you like to speak about?
Well, I guess kind of how you want it to end up looking. Not that wall, the retaining wall.
Is that the current condition now?
No, could you please continue to scroll through? Okay, we don't have photos of it there.
I was gonna say, I thought we already approved removal of a retaining wall.
I know you mentioned it was supportive. And then I think the applicant was considering regrading that area so that there would be.
Well, that's already been approved.
Hang on, with the plans that show the wall.
No, this is a whole different part of the property, what I'm now talking about.
Right, there was a previous presentation from the applicant where I believe we were under the impression that we had, at least, I mean, I remember this case where you had removed a wall. And
Right.
you asked about regrading. it,
Right.
And we had provided a vote.
Oh, okay.
I think you're supportive, but we could wrap it into this.
Okay.
I believe we have the CUH.
So it requires.
Sorry, I was a little confused on
Got it.
if that had
So we
been.
have to support the documents with the grade and maybe something.
It's in your packet under previous submission, I think, for number one. Yeah, it's evidenced in, previous, it should be page number 12. 60. You slide down. Yeah, see, that was it.
Parking area and stuff.
And the general feedback and consensus at the time, I think, was that the commission was okay, that it would be simply regraded to the pre-retaining wall condition.
And just graph.
Okay.
Is that the intent that you would like to do? I mean, you want to grade this back and then finish it down? Is that what we're?
Well, on the far left, it's a little, we're gonna have to remove a lot of dirt in order to make that safe, because it's let me give it a shot with the current approval, and then we can talk to Jacqueline and see if it's headed in the right direction.
Okay.
Does that sound?
So then I need
Yeah, because I do recall that the commission at the time just struggles with, it was a non-contributing later modification retaining wall, then that was removed, and we generally don't support putting retaining walls back once they've been removed. You see, returning back to that context.
Yeah, that's my recollection as well. We ready for a motion?
Sure.
All right.
So
Yeah, I lost my thing closed here.
I can do it.
You got it?
Yeah. For HR 2301-013, 24 East Northwood Avenue, we would like to approve to move to staff, or make a motion to move to staff approval, the continued modification of kind of the hardscaping with an agreement that the larger rocks or boulders on the front lawn would be removed and continued maintenance and care be placed in adding additional plantings such as daylily, phlox, ground cover to continue regreening in that space. And discussions will continue regarding the retaining wall that's been removed and then rear location of the property. And conversation will continue with staff to continue or to finally approve that, as well as the ventings through the soffits that have been discussed during this meeting.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Does staff require any clarifications?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, would a site plan be submitted to staff
Yes.
or updated? Yeah.
I mean, he has, if you can update the one you have currently.
So I think our goal is to make sure that there's density in planting and whatever's on the ground and the plants submitted match up.
So it's just like.
I mean, he has,
So,
he has site plans.
Site plan, yes.
You know, modified plan, add some planting in there. If you can
Okay,
just-
so the site plan submitted and remove the band of rocks and,
And clarify what's already existing versus still yet to be planted, I think is the critical thing.
okay,
So are you okay with amending their motion?
Yes, so I'd like to amend the motion to include the inclusion of a new site plan that shows the proper representation of the rocks being removed and infill of those plants to be added.
Okay, okay, the seconder?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any further clarifications needed from staff or any other clarification points?
I just want to make sure, did we talk about the retaining wall in the back? Was that brought up there? Did we? Okay. I got lost in the bushes.
I think that the clarity on that was, and within the context of your motion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I interpret that as it will be working with staff for the final solution for staff approvable, but it'll be graded.
Yes.
It's not replacing the intent, it's just grading the land back. Okay,
Thank you.
any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Going on to case number 2, which I also believe you're here for as well. Jacqueline.
Okay, so this application is for 40 East Northwood Avenue. And the proposed work is modification of landscaping with new hardscape. And then this proposal is modified to include removal of a portion of large rocks and installing perennials and shrubs. So same background for this property. The one difference is there's no venting component to this application. And so I'll move on to the business meeting feedback. So at the November 2nd business meeting, the commissioners noted that they appreciate the removal of rail ties. Noted that feedback would be similar to the 24 Northwood application. The commissioners asked about the landscape map, as it seemed like there were a lot of areas of the landscape map exposed and several brick debris present in photos. The commissioners asked about the Riverstone labels number 7 on the landscape plan and its clarification on whether the Riverstone is proposed for just the size as shown on the landscape plan, or if Riverstone is proposed as a mulch-like product across the landscape. The commission noted the concern that the rocks added along the step area did not seem to be working from an execution standpoint, and weren't sure if this is because the area is built up, but no, they can discuss with the applicant at the hearing. So staff recommendation is to either approve application HR 23-01014, 40 East Northwood Avenue, with the following conditions, and that is the applicant submit revised landscape drawings showing the majority belong to plantings, or continuing the application to allow the applicant time to revise the application to meet city code and HRC guidelines. And the basis for that staff recommendation is the city code 306.13, standard for site improvements, letter A, and the HRC guidelines for scalable plants and landscaping on page 8.
Would the applicant like to add anything before we start our question?
no, please go ahead.
Okay. I recall the business meeting discussion simply was, again, it was the rock. We struggled with a similar scenario. Had a retaining wall holding it back. Just wanted to note for the applicant's benefit, are you convinced on your solution with the river rock? Because it looks like it's already kind of running off onto the sidewalk below. And just making sure you have the right solution, because, you know, perpetually, if it's always running off on that sidewalk, that's gonna be kind of a problem. But I turn this also over, and I look forward to opinions from our site planning and landscape expertise folks here too.
This is applicant.
Well, if we could go back, how's,
Say that
Can
again.
you repeat that?
how is that?
Well, I
What do you
think,
mean?
yeah,
Effectiveness or?
You like it, you don't like it,
So here, the big rocks, I think we similarly, I think we don't like the idea of the big rocks there. So if you could peel those off. More plantings. I think your plan is showing more than what we see here. So it's the same thing like before. We'd like to see it more green. Less of or no big rocks if possible. And in this particular case, the question is with the pebbles, given how steep the slope is, we feel they're just gonna wash with rain events, and snow and stuff like that, and eventually start washing. Have you considered that?
well, we'll start backwards. The rocks are doing a pretty good job of holding in place. As far as, there are some neighborhoods in the house that just basically, planted ivy and it covers the entire slope.
That would be fun. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think.
I don't know how to get that stuff to grow,
So,
but
ivy is actually one of the things we do see historically in some of the neighborhoods on the embankments.
Mhm.
And if you said you wanted to come in and plant a grid of ivy to just take over the hillside, I think everybody here is gonna sort of go for it. Just know that ivy can be, I think, once it's mature, it can be tougher to maintain, just say.
you're aggressive, it's gonna start to climb that tree that we're seeing in the top right-hand corner. But whatever. So,
Mhm.
you know, be careful, there will need some maintenance, it's needed to kind of keep that in mind. I would suggest if you are thinking about pulling back those rocks, as have been suggested, possibly creating a line of the larger rocks at the bottom edge of the slope, embedding them into the slope just enough that it provides an edge to kind of help trap any of the falling bits of gravel that's turning to kind of run off the slope. And then planting the ivy to kind of help continue to tamp down that material.
Well, that's what we did with that line of rocks right there.
But there's
At the lower
still
one.
between that bottom line of larger rocks and the edge where the slope meets the sidewalk.
Mhm.
You have those smaller bits of gravel that's starting to run off onto the sidewalk, which will then be a tripping hazard and a mess that you probably don't want to have.
Well, there's, you don't see it in the photo, there is like a lot of stone right along the bottom that provides like a corner for those rocks to,
Maybe you can.
And if you go to page 14, it's very evident.
Right there.
But see how much Riverstone is already sort of running onto that base, that last
Mhm.
little retaining curb piece that you have.
Mhm.
Eventually, that's just gonna keep washing, I think, down the hill.
And someday the plant material will help, but in the meantime, we gotta figure out a solution from having that being, like a hazard on the sidewalk and that sort of thing.
Did you ever have any objection or thought to just simply putting this back to being grass?
The problem's the maintenance, it's just, I mean, I spend $8,000 a year cutting grass and you get tired of writing that check.
And landscaping though and de-weeding, you think will be?
Well, the ivy I see on the street, that doesn't get weeded.
I mean, again, ivy is a good solution. If that's what you want to go with, you'll be with that.
How would you propose to keep the rocks in? You think maybe digging out some of the lower portion of that to give it a little more of a step, or what do you?
I don't know, I have to kind of rethink this. This is, yeah,
Certainly, we're open to whatever your, some of those considerations.
I'm not much of a plant guy, so, I'm kind of
Chime in with
talking
what-
about stuff here. I mean, I don't even know if we get ivy to get it to plant. So.
I think
Well, how about, what would you want us to maybe continue this piece of this and then, we get the other one wrapped up? And then you give us some feedback maybe next month about you know, how you're gonna keep the rocks in, and maybe some plant ideas when you check with your wife, maybe she's a
Yeah.
plant person.
Yeah,
Yeah, just even if you go to like a nursery, right, like any kind of store, show them a picture and they will help with solutions.
right.
From the landscape architect's perspective, and those familiar with site design and plantings, how often do you need to plant an ivy start to get it to grow on a grid? Is it 12 inches, 24 inches? What is the kind of
Spacing to make it
Yeah, what is the
perfectly.
spacing to make a bank?
It just depends on how fast do you want that plant to fill in that space. So if you're willing to wait
20 years.
20 years, you can plant 2 or 3 plants.
6 feet apart.
So if we're talking about next year,
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
What would you recommend the applicant consider on a spacing on ivy if they're just gonna put ivy?
I mean, for this size of site, anywhere between 30 to 50 smaller plugs,
About how far apart?
Mhm.
Maybe 6, 8 inches, 10 inches, foot?
a foot.
Yeah. And like you said, you know, a couple few years is kind of their goal to get things to grow in.
Right, right.
So it could even be.
Let's continue it and I can.
We can
work with
continue it,
Jack.
and if you simply come back, I think with a planting plan that maybe shows a grid at 12 inches on center of ivy or something, we're gonna know that there's general agreement here, maybe we could just move it to staff approval at a time that would be acceptable.
Mhm.
I'd like to make a motion, HR-23-01-014 for East Northwood Avenue, to continue that to the next commission meeting in December.
Okay, having a motion, is there a second? Second. Okay, having a motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Noes? Motion passes.
Thanks for your patience.
Sure thing.
Appreciate
No,
you.
appreciate the input on that.
Yeah.
Are we finished?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Moving on to new applications, 920 Bryden Road. You wanna just raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening?
I do.
And if you state your full name and association with the property for record.
Joshua Toby, architect.
Wonderful, thank you. Jacqueline.
So this application is in 2 parts, part A for variances, and then part B for the exterior work. For part A, this variance recommendation request that seems to largely pertain to existing conditions, such as allowing for a single-family residence and carriage house on standalone market district, to allow for a carriage house to front upon the street, on the same property as the home, front on Bryan Road, to allow for 2 parking spaces and an enclosed garage where 4 is required for 2 units, to allow for less than 5,000 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit in the R3 area, and to allow for a rear yard of 20% for the primary duplex, and a rear yard of 0% for the carriage house, but 25% is required. So again, the proposed variances seem to largely pertain to existing conditions. And at the November 2nd business meeting, the commission noted they were okay with adding those associated variances to the November agenda. So staff recommends an affirmative recommendation of application HR 23-11-009A and 920 Bryan Road. And then the same recommendation basis are from the exterior alterations. But generally since these are existing condition variances, I would say that they are consistent with code of guidelines in general. So staff recommends an affirmative recommendation for those reasons.
Great, what would the applicant like to?
No, Jacqueline forwarded me a couple of prompts that you guys had talked about when I was gone for a wedding, so I didn't get to come to the business meeting. There is no existing light fixtures on the front faces there, and the owner feels comfortable not adding any. They don't want to damage the brick or anything any further. There is a street light right up front, and so it's plenty bright there. I think one of the other question she asked, the concrete in front, they asked if there was going to be any repair work done to that. They're gonna see when it's done if they want to do more of a garden and or patio space in front, and so we'll just appear with a different application depending on how it turns out there once the renovation is complete. So, but as of now, it's not dangerous, and the public right away, the sidewalk is in actually nice shape, but the concrete kind of just directly in front of it isn't. But they're not sure what they're gonna do yet, so we'll just appear again.
I think my biggest question came down to the commission's feeling about if we can go to.
You just want to jump to the part B of the application for exterior work?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so for part B, so that's infilling existing opening with garage door, pedestrian door, and regular siding, repair windows, replacing broken glass, reinstalling removed original windows that were previously stored in the carriage house, repainting windows, sliding door, and other wood elements, extending the black metal flashing over the wood framing of the concrete block garage, replacing existing vinyl siding at the garage header with new gray lap siding, and painting garage door and previously painted concrete block walls of garage to match the main house. So the property includes a 19th century brick 2.5-story Mania style home, as well as the 1.5-story 19th century brick carriage house that both appear on 1891 Sanborn maps. A single-story concrete block garage was added to the carriage house in the latter half of the 20th century, Vinyl siding at the face of the garage was present by the 1990s. And at the November 2nd business meeting for the exterior alterations, commissioners noted concern about the all-glass garage door and the infill treatment being out of character with the carriage house, noting that the carriage house has retained a lot of historic character, and asked about the infill possibly being more along the millwork line, such as the existing sliding door and the other elevation, and asked if the carriage house use is proposed to change and whether that's the background on the proposed direction. I know they can discuss the infill portion of the applicant at the hearing. So the commission asked to support that the sidewalk or driveway replacement would occur, and then if any exterior light fixtures were proposed, just noting that they want to be sure all work is covered. So for the exterior work, based on the staff review and feedback, staff recommends continuing application HR 23-1109B and 920 Brighton Road to allow the applicant time to submit revised materials. And that recommendation is based on the City Code 316.11 standards for alteration, numbers 156, as well as the HRC guidelines for garages and outbuildings on pages 86 and 87.
Okay, thank you. That was actually where I was going to. Thank you for inviting those a part B. Just my biggest thought is just, what is the feeling of the commission on the garage being all glass doors? If we don't allow those, we've had even just regular alleyway garages where we've had people propose glazing, denied them, depending on what the case by case basis was. And this is an all glass garage door with some infill, it's a downsizing.
I guess I'll say to elaborate, because they didn't want to modify the side, there is very little light in the rest of it, and it's going to be the living room. So trying to get some natural light in there is the main priority there. We decided, or I guess typically, usually when something was used as probably like a bigger opening, that was probably one of the things that led them to doing something that was a little reminiscent. Obviously, it's old enough that it was not a garage, like necessarily for cars, but it has a header. The whole opening was probably maybe bifold doors or something much larger back then. The staircase itself, when you can see to the left side of the man door, it protrudes out into it. So like the opening can't run the full length because the stair is in the way. I'm not sure how they just didn't care back in the day, I guess. But that's the reason for having the glass in there, is that it would be the main source of light for the entire ground floor.
So this is like a living conversion.
Yeah, it'll be a carriage, like a true carriage house, once it's done. It's a 3-bedroom house, so he's going to live there.
Glass,
It's transparent glass, yeah.
completely, so it's clear.
It would be completely clear.
Oh, okay. So, but that is an actual working garage door in the living room, or?
They don't plan to use it as such, but
Okay.
it won't have a garage door opener, but it'll
Okay.
be a garage door.
Okay, so what, I don't think there's an objection to putting windows there. I think the objection is that it looks like a garage, like it looks like a modern garage door, right?
Right.
And could you do a window design that doesn't look like a garage door?
Yeah, I don't think they mind. I think we were trying to just predict the way people would feel about it, and the garage door is a little more reminiscent of the fact that it would have been a large opening that things were coming in and out of, and so I think that's why we went with that. I think I personally just kind of feel like with windows, it'll read a little bit more obviously like an infill, unless we try and get maybe some like full height floor to ceiling windows, which in a way is kind of doing the same thing, but it's just a different way of arranging maybe the muntins.
It's quite like.
It does look like a garage door, but it was kind of a garage, so that's why I think we went with that direction originally. But if people don't think that's
I'm
appropriate than.
feeling more comfortable with a window idea than putting up a wall street.
And I think you can also clean that up around the door, the main door. It's kind of a little weird where the spacing is. Not necessarily as balanced. You've got a really centered section with that beautiful island window. And it's kind of a little strange. You got that little narrow piece, and then you got the wider piece on one side, and you can kind of incorporate it in a new design aspect that could really give that face of this building a little more of a pretty, but in more keeping in historical fact.
Yeah, I mean, they don't plan to park a car in there ever again, so that's not like part of it for sure.
I wonder too, if there might be some design elements from the existing sliding doors that are to remain. Just that proportion, style. That if some of the panes were transparent, that you were taking some cues from the way that those are designed.
Mhm.
Might feel more appropriate, I think, than the horizontal nature of the garage door.
Sure.
How would the commission feel about advancing this applicant forward with the exception of that garage door opening so that they could just continue with a lot of their variance work?
Sure.
And their other components, knowing that you have to come.
Yeah,
back
we have
each
Near
time.
East Area Commission at
Sorry,
six,
go ahead.
6:30 actually, so that would be nice, just to tell them that we're good besides the garage door.
Yeah,
but-
just understand that these processes take forever and we don't want to, there's a lot of good things about this application, so.
Yes.
Right,
Well done.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I agree. I think our only concern is the garage door, so I think everything else is, I'm okay with everything else.
Agreed. Everything's in keeping, and you're doing the right job with the tile, with the slate, so it's a good job.
So we would, Jacqueline, on this advice, would this be breaking it into a part C then to leave the garage door and the van door unresolved?
Yeah, that would be the best way to hold it.
Okay.
Give it a shot. Regarding HR 23-11-009, move to approve Part A and B as stated, except for with Part B, breaking that out into a Part C, which is simply the infill existing opening with glass garage door. That needs to be continued, or are we saying work with staff?
I continue.
Continue.
Continued.
Second.
Okay. Staff require any additional clarification on that?
I'm confirming that, so the variances, they're recommended for approval, unlike the actual exterior work that are being approved just for the vote.
We need to,
So
we need to
for,
include, support.
yeah, so for clarity, the part A would be a motion to support. Part B would be a motion to.
Oh, we have to break them all out separately?
No, you can do it in one context or one motion if you wanted to, just be clear that part A is a recommendation.
Okay, yeah,
Part B
yeah,
is-
sure. So move to approve Part A as a recommendation and Part B with the exception of the garage door
As approved.
as improved.
Okay, and, okay,
Second.
seconder, okay, great. So that's been any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you. Just continue to work with staff on that remaining piece.
We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Moving on to the next case, which is 1881 South High Street. If you could raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening?
I do.
And if you could state your full name and association with the property for record.
Ankit Nagi, owner.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Jack.
Okay, this application for 1881 South Highway, the proposed work is to remove the existing sign for the cement materials, as well as remove the lettering reading Dan's Drive-In from the north elevation. At the November 2nd business meeting, the commission noted they found it appropriate to replace the existing sign, and then asked how the applicant will repair the area shown in the photo with the lettering. For the applicant, the peeling shown is for paint on metal, and they will repaint the metal area. So staff note, just a reminder that for an exterior painting will be needed prior to commencing painting work, and that could be a staff approval. So staff recommendation is to recommend approval of application HR 23-11-010 at 1881 South High Street At least nominated known as Dan's Drive-In, an individually listed historic property with any and all identifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate. And the basis for the staff recommendation is the City Code 316.11, standards for alteration, numbers 1, 5, 9, 10, and 12, as well as the HRC guidelines for signage on pages 72 to 73, and the short-run design guidelines for signage on pages 3.37, 3.11, and the standards for sign improvements, 316.13, under C. Over to commission.
That's good.
The applicant like to add anything or? No? Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a good use of a sign. It keeps them in the style and and very supportive of it.
I don't have any comments. I think this is great.
The only comment I have is the graphics, I understand what it's about. But the maracas and the hat thing.
That's almost the icons, people are driving down the street.
That's what
Yeah,
catches people's eyes.
That says classic Mexican restaurant. I mean, it's almost like that.
Unspoken,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
And I guess
It's a little different though.
if we look at something as being, what is the thing that changes with the occupant? Is it, these specific words that change and would always, after Tio's Diner is no longer there, it then changes as well. All three panels probably change potentially. Is
Right.
that the transitionary item, I guess, of the site?
Right.
So sizes aren't changing, right?
No, size is the same.
That's
Yeah,
good.
the panels are just being replaced.
Yeah, just the
Then the question,
panels.
is it our purview to worry about what graphics on it? I don't know what's the.
So short-term design guidelines, you can include relevant graphics pertaining to the sign. So they could be good in the guidelines for signage just in general. But as far as other, sort of replacement, leave that up to the commission.
Yeah, personally, I love that the applicant has maintained all of the iconic elements, structural elements of the sign, and the pieces that are easy to change or what you focused on. So I think, in terms of having a historic sign stay historic, you've done a great job, and I'd be in support of approving as presented.
Are these backlit? Do you know?
Yes,
Still, okay.
yes.
And they function pretty well, is it?
All the signs work.
Good.
I've had the business for 7 years. I just sold it to the new client.
Okay,
So they're operating as Dan's Drive-In right now,
okay.
but they want to change the sign.
Oh. Gotcha.
Their motion.
So you're owning the property?
I own.
Okay, there it is.
Should I make a motion?
That's submitted.
Yeah, I make a motion to, for HR 23-11-010, to be approved as submitted.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Having second, is there any other further discussion?
Samples? So, it's 5 o'clock.
Simple. So
Okay.
I have one question. Let's say they leave the business, for example, and I start back. To change the name, let's say I want to put Dan's back in. It's the same process?
Come back.
Okay,
But save all that signage.
yes.
Yeah, if you
that
save it
would make
online.
Then you can just go.
Perfect case for reversion.
Exactly.
That would
Real
make
easy.
it. Okay, just wanted to know.
You have a good place to store that, maybe in the attic or something.
Yeah, I have a basement there, so I'll just store my stuff there.
Good.
Okay.
It's no problem.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
When are they gonna do the transition to the new restaurant?
It's already been going on,
Oh,
but the sign I told them don't change until we have approval.
okay. So, that's it. I'll just stop it. Let's go.
Moving on to.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Application number 5, 1708 Brighton Road. Before you sit down, you need to raise your right hand. Do you both swear to tell the truth in testimony before the commission this evening? If you could each state your full name and association with the property for record.
Holly Williams, owner.
Matt Brown.
Wonderful, thank you.
This application for 1708 Bryan Road is a request for new construction and landscaping. It would be for construct a single-story, two-car garage at the rear and north side of the property facing the alley. It would also be removing a portion of the existing fence to accommodate the garage. At the November 2nd business meeting, the commissioners present did not have concerns regarding the garage proposal. Noted they would likely would have moved staff approval this time as president, but were not able to take action in that form. Staff recommends approval of application HR 2311-011, 1708 Bryan Road, and the Bryan Historic District as submitted, with any note clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate. And that recommendation is based on the HRC guidelines for garages and outbuildings, pages 85, as well as the city code standards for new construction, 3116.12, and the city code standards for site improvements, 3116.13, letters A and B, and the HRC guidelines for fences on page 76. And
Other than the information that you have submitted, is there anything else you would like to speak of today?
No, then,
From what I understand, I wasn't here for the business meeting, but this was a very well put together package. I think there's a lot of support. So if there's nothing else to speak of, I can make a motion to keep this going. Yeah. In regards to 05-23-11-011-1708 Bryan Road, excuse me. I would like to recommend approval as submitted.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you.
thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to case number 6400 East Town Street. If you could each raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony for the commission this evening?
Yes.
If you could each state your full name and association with the property for record.
Ted Muselowitz Architects.
Taylor Liz, project designer.
Wonderful, thank you. Jacqueline.
Okay, this application for 400 East Town Street is requesting to modify the existing window opening and replace this with a pair of fiberglass doors for a new exit at the rear of the west elevation. There will also be construction of exterior concrete stairs with a steel handrail at the new exit versus submitted materials. So the property includes a 3.5-story brick building in the Chateau style. The building was constructed in 1899 as a school for the Ohio Institute for the Deaf and Dumb. The building is currently in use for the Christian Day School, and proposed alterations will occur at the 2-story west ballroom. So at the November 2nd business meeting, the commissioners asked to confirm the reason for the alteration. They know that they typically do not approve alterations to historic openings, but understand the circumstance for school safety. This will need to be able to cite the reasoning as part of the approval. The commissioners present note they do not have concerns about the proposed alteration treatment at that time, and appreciated the maintaining of the historic window height and width. So staff recommends approval of application HR 2311-012 at 400 East Town Street. And with any and all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of the certificate. That recommendation is based on the City Code 316.11 standards for alteration, numbers 1, 2, 5, 10, 11, and 12. And to the commission.
Great. Just for clarity too, is it the primary conversion on the window to the door for a life safety egress?
Yes, so the background on that, we actually we didn't get it in time to submit it, but the school had a security audit last spring, which raised a number of issues. Many of them internally that they've dealt with. This one in particular, the letter explains the exits out of the gym right now are back into the main hallway directly opposite the front door. So if there was an event, security event in the hallway, students would be trapped there. So this is the recommendation to remedy that situation.
Great. And just for any motion this evening, I'd ask for from the commission is just, again, because we don't normally encourage or have even supported conversions from windows to door openings unless there was a compelling reason. I think there's a compelling reason here with life safety egress as noted by the applicant here.
Yep.
Motion.
Sure. All right, for HR 23110112 400 East Town Street. I would like to make a motion for approval with the note that we've given the special case of needed safety egress out of the building. This commission would be approving change from a window to door operation or opening. And for this case in particular, we would not otherwise do so. So with that.
So there's a motion, is there a second?
Second,
Having a motion and a second, any further discussion?
I do have a question for you. So the building materials that are existing, is there a way that you could store those on site? Like put them in the basement, like that sill plate, that window? I think that would be a nice piece to have in the event that there were some other things down the road. Yes. That's, these materials are very nice. It's a great building. So
Yeah.
there's a way to store them.
We can make that note to, I'm sure they can find a place to store it, so.
Thank you. And even brick, save everything that you can, because you never know. 10 years from now, we may be back here and we have a little piece of something we need to take care of.
Yep.
Right.
Great. With that caveat, any other further discussion, clarity? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to case number 7475 North Wall Street. You know her building.
That's right.
So for the record, I think Guy Henry is abstaining or sorry, recusing from the record.
Thank you.
Yeah, you each raise your right hand. So you're ready. Swear to tell the truth before the commission this evening.
Yes.
You could start at one corner and just work down the room, give me your full name and association with the property for record.
Brian Suter, I'm the owner's rep for North Market.
Julie Brownfield, I'm the owner's rep for the developer.
Daniel Ayers with MBBJ Architect.
Chad Smith, MBBJ Project Architect.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, this application is for 475 North Wall Street, which was previously reviewed as 59 School Street. And an application for new construction was previously approved at the January 2022 HRC hearing under application number HR 2201015. And so the proposal today is to revise the previous proposal to include increased height of the second level space, the balcony at the new second level, sheltered egress stair, revised skylights, and use of 2 additional materials that are included in the TIS packet. There would also be a revision to the exterior fireplace and revisions to the southeast corners at wall and vine, including the residential entry and facade metal trim and the garage entry enclosure. At the November 2nd business meeting, the commissioners present did not have concerns regarding the proposed changes. The commission recommended removing the antennas from the elevations if they're not currently proposed. And with that, staff recommends approval of application HR 2311013 013 at 47 North Wall Street, North Market District, as submitted with any and all clarifications and final construction drawings to be submitted to HU staff for review and approval prior to issuing of a certificate. That staff recommendation is based on the city code 316.12 standards for construction.
Great. What would the applicant like to add at this time?
I think key for us is last time we were here was reviewing the overall larger design. Probably the biggest area of continued development is around the North Market expansion here, which you see on the screen, the previous on the left, the new development on the right. A lot of that has been through programmatic changes on the inside and continued development of the building. A lot of the changes are also, again, programmatic. We're not changing materials. They're still similar. We did bring a number of the new materials if you'd like to see them, but it is just a development of the design, just to review with you today to make sure that we're still sticking within the overall design intent of the project.
And as I recall, you guys made a pretty thorough presentation at the business meeting, so thank you. What I would love to do is just have you slide up one more image here. Or, sorry, two more images maybe. If you could approach the screen and just for the sake of those that were not here, just point out the differences of what's changed.
Yep.
What the images and just make it clear.
So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. That's probably the easiest way to do it. One of the first things you'll see is the difference here in the elevator overrun. It actually, in the submission that was done back, in the previous was the rendering showed it short, but our drawings all showed it taller. It's one thing that the rendering was incorrect, so this is just the correct rendering. So no design change, it just is now represented as housing. As we move down the building, there's that, one of the changes is on level 19, a metal frame that went around the perimeter has been removed. You'll still see some of what looks like a frame, but those are the cabanas that are out part of the pool deck. Next down is again a rendering change, which was the fireplace for the ballroom was developed. The way it's shown here is the way it was also documented in at that time. So not again big changes, but just a lot of clarification to make sure we're going through the overall design. Along the streetscape, continued development around that with the trees and the green roof on top of the restaurant. Trees from it, just it was a lot going on there with the overall canopy for the for our outdoor seating area and visual access of seeing the North Market entry as we're coming up the street. And the biggest one that you'll see is the skylights on top of the expansion for the North Market expansion, going from 4 to 2 and changing orientation, which does help with some of that solar heat gain, but again, was part of that development of a second level space in the North Market expansion, along with the outside balcony that goes there, which the outside balcony is hard to see from this.
Yeah, if you want to slide down, I think. To
Yeah.
the next.
So the next one here, yeah, and the before and after is good to see. This was previously one large space inside. We added a second level, which then is a basically an event space for the North Market, which then has an outside roof or outside terrace. We also have an egress stair that comes down part of that space. So needing that as part of the exiting from that upper level. Fireplace changes around just more details, size and scale, very similar, brick material, all staying the same. Yeah, that's the main one you're gonna see is really around the skylight detail. These are closer to what the existing North Market has, larger scale, taller, that fits within that space. And I mean, that's the big ones here. And then if we keep going down, the next is
Page 12.
yeah. And so on here, a little bit of a development.
Excuse me, the graphic that was on the historic structure, the rooster, is not on there. Is that gone completely, or is that?
It'll be a part of a future for approvals on when we come back for signage and any murals at that point. Yep. So bit of a development and adjustment to the corner detailing, a little bit around the railing on this corner of the cross bracing. It's a subtle change. These were singles and now they're double X's. And then the main adjustment was around, we had a metal screening around the residential entry, which is actually changed to a bit more of a more traditional vertical mullion system. That's happened there. So nothing real major, a little bit of adjustment on the height of the cover for the portico share. And yeah, those are again, not major changes in quality, but just in some of the design features for those.
I do appreciate the balcony breaking up that massing. I think that's good. I like that. Quick question though, what about taking it all the way across? Is it just you need the space for obviously interior?
There's some interior programmatic pieces that don't allow us to take it all the way across. It would be nice, but that's the way kind of it's been laid out for that upper level.
Okay.
Yep.
I do like it. I think it's approved. Yeah.
I think this is actually a better design.
Thank you. That's always good.
No, it's
Good that it's gotten better.
I do appreciate it, although I do think it's slightly unfortunate that we are losing the green roof. We have so few examples of that in Columbus. So I would ask that maybe some consideration be given to maybe bringing that back, but understanding that the plantings may not be as large, sticking to something that's a little closer to a xeriscape, lower. So that way it's not interfering with visual, access in the building.
And it is. Are you talking about the greenery around the second story?
Yeah, so on the
On top of the restaurant, that's a part of the restaurant below there.
Right, and now it's missing.
Okay.
We
But other than that,
we'll consider it. Yeah, and it's, again, was the intent, for that, especially with the number of people looking down on it, we'll consider.
Okay,
Any other comments from?
I make a motion for application HR 23-11-013-475 North Wall Street to be approved as submitted.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Right.
Moving on to application number 8, 2131 Luke Ave.
Let the minutes show I rejoined the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you.
This is the conceptual.
Recess.
Are you for the last application?
Sorry.
You could, yeah. Yes, yeah, sorry. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on up, come on. And if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the commission this evening?
Do,
If you can state your full name and association with the property for record.
Buford Myers, I work for the management company.
Okay. Jack.
This is for 2131 Unedited Avenue. So the proposed work is conceptual and it includes removing demolition, so removing brick arch areas of the building at the southeast corner. So stamp maps from the 1920s and 1960s and photos from the early 2000s indicate that the archway historically was a porch. So a proposal to repair the porch was previously approved in 2003, renewed in 2005, but never completed. So code violation for the masonry was issued in 2018. The property does not appear to have applications or approvals addressing those 2018 code violations. So the November 2nd business meeting, the commission noted that they're not able to support demolition of the stone fabric with the arched area appearing to have been built with the home and integrated with the house and a distinctive design element. And then the arch addition currently appears to be experiencing demolition by neglect. The commission noted that the ghosting design and different brick used below the roof line indicates that there was a missing roof, with that missing roof causing additional issues to the brick that was used below the roofing, and that would have only had that covering. So the commission noted that they would support shoring up and buttressing the arch area and stabilizing in the meantime if the roof area cannot be rebuilt financially at this time. The commission recommended that the applicant receive clarification from a mason to talk about what repairs would be needed to stabilize the arch portion of the home. So this application is conceptual, and so the commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future HRC meeting, and so no action is required. The basis for the staff recommendation is the City Code 316.14, Standards for Demolition, as well as the City Code 316.11, Standards for Alteration, numbers 1, 2, 5, 6, 10, and 12. And over to the commission.
Okay, wonderful. Would the applicant like to add any additional information?
I mean, the arches are just, they're unsafe. They're beyond repair.
Can you explain what, I guess, how long the current company has either owned or managed the property?
I'm not sure how long they've managed it.
Okay.
That I couldn't tell you. I give work orders and I go to them.
How about on or about 2018? Do you think that's, were they still the same firm?
Probably, I don't know, but yeah, I know it's been a few years.
And can you describe if you know of any attempt to repair or do any?
Well, if you look, they've been tuck pointed in the past. And the problem with the tuck pointing is that only addresses what you can see. Most of these cracks go through the whole structure. And if you look in the one picture, you can see where the structure's actually shifted. So it's not even in line anymore. It's shifted over. And it's a patio and it's currently rented out to students. And so the fear is that somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, I understand
We entirely agree, but that's also why we're asking, why has there not been any effort to actually do serious work on repairing it, I guess?
Deterioration by neglect.
Right.
well, I mean, there's only so much you can do to those. I mean, those arches are just held up with mortar.
It is a historic property, and owning a historic home requires maintenance of historic fabric. And in lies the issue that currently the property really is not being maintained, willfully not being maintained.
No, I mean, if you look, there's been many spots that's been tuck pointed. I mean, so over the years, it's been tuck pointed, re-tuck pointed, and tried to keep up with it. The roof rotted away, and that's why there's not a roof on it anymore, because it literally rotted away.
But now if we go back to, there's still an open violation case, is that correct, Jacqueline? That was never resolved?
I believe so from our file. I haven't seen any applications or approvals.
Okay, so there may have been roof removed, but probably not with an approval?
No, it wasn't, well, it collapsed.
A tree or something hit it, or?
Yes. There's a tree right on the other side of that wall, and it lost a branch and it collapsed the roof. So it had to be removed because it was already collapsed in. I didn't have a part of that, but I do know that's what happened to the roof.
Do you know if any efforts were made to cap the top of that masonry wall?
It's got a concrete cap on it.
There's a concrete cap.
Yes. If you look in the picture, there's cap, because you can see where the cap, one picture shifted. I mean, it is attached to the house, but it can be removed where the brick on the house is saved. I mean, like I said, at this point, these arches aren't serving a purpose. There's literally no purpose for them to be.
It is a structure though in a historic district, and had it been repaired correctly, the roof would have been rebuilt. The brick would have been properly tuck pointed and maintained, and we wouldn't find it in the condition we have it in today.
And it's a
But-
contributing element to the
Right.
structure.
It,
That's the
like
biggest
that right there, that picture right there, that's been repaired.
But that is not a correct repair by any means.
Okay, well then, I mean, I didn't do it, but it's been tuck pointed and remortared. I mean, that's about all you can do to repair that.
I think the bigger issue that we're kind of getting at here is that although there have been some repairs, have they gone to the degree necessary to save a historic property? And I think that's what.
Over the years, I believe they have. I mean, and like the roof wasn't rebuilt because it's not safe to attach anything to those arches.
But in lies the fact that you can't just voluntarily continue to demolish pieces of a contributing.
No, I understand that. That's why we're here. I mean, because we haven't demolished anything.
And you're the messenger, so we're not.
No, yeah. I mean, the roof had to come because, like I said, a tree took that down years ago. So yes, it was demolished. It wasn't put back because, like I said, these walls haven't been stable. They've over the years tried to tuck point them and keep up on the maintenance of them. But at a certain point, when it's all sagging and hanging, it's just every year sagging more and more, and you can see it just re-cracks.
Though, but you've already indicated, so this is some sort of rental property for students?
Yeah.
So clearly there's a profit probably being made. It's time to reinvest in the property and make the necessary restorative repairs and continue the life of a historic structure. Because I think the issue here is to just let it continue to be neglected is probably not the right answer here, because it'll just continue to spiral downward.
Well, I understand that, but the only thing to save would be basically demolish and rebuild.
You have to, yes.
That may be exactly what it would be required.
And then rebuild them.
But what's the purpose of rebuilding if there's nothing there though?
It is a contributing historic feature of this home, though. It is a historic home in a historic district.
Yeah, when the roof was demolished, I understand the branch. But was it already in the historical district at that time? If so, shouldn't the roof have been restored and put back?
It's probably an
And
emergency.
if the roof had been put back and restoration done at that time, and I know you didn't do it.
But what I'm saying, there's nobody in their right mind that would attach a roof to these columns, they're not stable.
Not in their current condition.
Not in their current
They've shifted, they've moved. I mean, you'd have to really take them all the way back down and rebuild them. That's gonna be, and that would be very costly.
If I can add too, so any tuck pointing, you definitely want to have rules for. So part of the damage is occurring because of the mortar that was used. So it looks like there's a lot of, Portland cement, like super hard mortar that causes the brick to crack and fall over time, so it's kind of accelerating that damage. Another way to really shorten, the structure without, besides tuck pointing, would be adding something like tie rods or helical ties to really add that structural support. So there might be a couple different avenues to stabilize the building or that portion of the building, whether it's rebuilt or, repaired.
Yeah, and I don't think we'd be opposed to putting additional steel structure on the inside when the roof was rebuilt onto it. I think we certainly have approved those things, that type of thing before. Where beams and columns have been internally added.
And unfortunately, when I go back to this file from 2018, is the brick was in better condition then, but I don't think there was any additional attempt to continue to remedy that exact issue.
No, I mean, other than it being tuck pointed, I don't think there was. That's all I know that's been done to it.
I mean, the approval given in 2006 was actually to rebuild existing deck, repair and modify the existing deck that was damaged by a fallen tree, remove the window, the frame walls and decking. It talked about removal of those things. But it talks also about, joists will be hung, new roofing will happen, new decking will happen. And clearly none of that actually happened based on old approvals that are actually in our file.
And that is likely to have contributed to the deterioration of the brick not having a roof on top of a structure that was designed to have a cover.
No. The roof went from structure to structure. It didn't go over top of it all.
It was all internal.
Yes, it's all internal.
Okay.
It's not, it doesn't cover any. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's damage on the outside just as much as on the inside where the roof was. I mean, that's right there's, I believe, where it's shifted. That whole upper wall is shifted over. I mean, there's no repair that's gonna save that.
Well, that there, again, being a steward of a historic home sometimes means that reinvestment means taking down and rebuilding in kind. And that is putting back features that currently exist today and performing the necessary restorative work to continue its life and to continue those features. Unfortunately, Jacqueline's right. I mean, this has continued to suffer from bad repairs that were misrepairs, and there needs to be a plan to stabilize this before it's lost. Before exactly what you said, you've admitted under oath, under record, it's a safety hazard.
Yeah.
So really, there has to be an investment now before there's an issue.
Well, that's fine. I mean, that's up to the owner. That's not my call. So, I mean, the repairs, I don't believe for a second that any of the repairs caused it to get any worse.
Just as another thought as well, and I understand you're sort of put in a difficult spot. You're coming in and certainly we appreciate you giving us your insight. And we're here just to try to look at that fabric and try to keep it around. I mean, I understand your position as well, but ideally, in this situation, we would need a drawing of what's going to happen, whether it's, some sort of restoration, which includes stabilization, steel, however, an architect, a structural architect, engineers come up with a plan to do that. And in addition to using appropriate materials. But I think that this is certainly a piece that would not get support to be removed. So that's completely off the table, I would assume, from my perspective and what I've experienced in the commission. So to just simply demolish that will not happen as far as an approval from that perspective. So ideally, we would like you to work with your owner and come up with a plan that could restore this to a stabilized opportunity. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that information with them, and again, this is conceptual, so we're not, there's no formal action taking place.
I understand. I'll tell them it's gonna be.
And it may be a message that you want to reiterate to the property owner is to understand that they have a property that's in a historic district.
I mean,
And city code on historic districts, if he says, I'm not going to make the investment, that's willful neglect. And there is a section in the chapter about willful neglect, and just letting it continue to erode
well,
is actually a violation of
I understand that, but if they can't financially afford it,
there's a section on financial hardship in the code they can then refer to. They will have to meet the criteria of that section of the code, though, that talks about
Okay.
financial hardship.
I mean, because
Frankly, all the money they saved from not doing the other part, they can apply that now.
well, I mean, the roof, that's pennies compared to what this would cost. To take these, I mean, anybody is gonna want to take this all down and redo.
Perhaps, I'm not sure. That's a.
Well, I pretty much 99% guarantee that.
Okay.
That it's too far gone. I mean, and that's the best way. Like I said, there's so much void in the middle that would be, I'm pretty sure everybody's consensus
I think
that would want to do it would be to take it down and just redo it.
And we have approved that in the past.
So,
Replacing in kind, and I agree with you, sometimes that is the solution. And a replacement in kind will be that it will look like the original when it's done.
And it happens more frequently than you think.
But also there's the roof issue that I'm assuming would be replaced at the same time.
Right. I mean, there are plenty of historic structures that had to have emergency repair work or repair work, such as this, where it had to come down to get rebuilt corners of buildings. I know I've done a half a dozen or so of these kinds of things in my career with historic schoolhouses or things, or even similar structures that were housing that needed to have, wall sections and corners and features rebuilt in kind, with the correct mortar, with the correct masonry, with probably some new brick at this point that matches the old brick, carefully matched. It's just going to take the right craftsman and the right expertise to do it.
And perhaps making it better, looking the same, but maybe structurally more integrity to really keep this alive for the next 100 years or what have you. Because this is, Matt, what year was this property, would you assume? How would we believe this to be?
Probably early 90s, yeah.
It's been a long time. That's a beautiful structure.
I'm not disagreeing. I just don't think the arches are worth saving, but it's not my call, so.
we understand that they're in their current state, these arches are not worth saving, but we need a plan of action of how you're going to bring them back and rebuild. If it's an issue of safety, then you need to reach out to a structural engineer to kind of sign off that this is a problem right now. And if there is a potential for the arches to fall down. And from there, we will then move forward with a new action of like, okay, they'll have to come down because of an issue of safety. But we still need that plan of action put into place of what you're going to do later on to rebuild it.
And if it's really unsafe, maybe the building should be vacated.
That's true.
Because, I mean, I'm kind of hearing that putting the lives of students in danger, or not you personally, but the owners of the building are, and that's a concern. And so maybe there needs to be further investigation.
No, I mean, all we'd have to do is caution tape that area. They don't use that for entryway anyways. They have a front and rear door.
But also continuing to just
So-
leave it caution taped off, though, is continuing to participate in demolition by neglect, is I guess what my point is here tonight.
Well, no, I mean, I have to do something until
There's been a non-commitment to do any work as evidenced by the current applications that are on file at the city that both show previous projects that were never completed, and then code cases that have never been addressed. So I do think that is, there's documented evidence of neglect here that is occurring.
Well, I mean, neglect wasn't all on their part, because I know a couple years ago, one of the city codes was they wanted handrails on the front steps and on the front porch. And I think they wanted a section of concrete repaired or replaced, which I bid to do the work for them. And I submitted all the drawings and the paperwork to a commission that was supposed to approve it. And apparently they never received it. So I don't know what happened to it. And then I gave the management company a set of it, and they were supposed to give it to the owner, and the owner was supposed to turn it in. So I never know what happened to that. I mean, that wasn't on me because I submitted everything that was supposed to be submitted to get the approval for the handrail.
And we certainly
And-
appreciate your help to try to do the right thing. That's a good
and
thing.
So, I mean, I can't sit here and say that that it's been neglected because some things have been done, but it was it was out of our hands. I mean, once I put that stuff in the mail, it's out of my hands. I mailed it to the city, and this was a few years back. It might have been right before COVID hit, so it might have been because of COVID. I'm not sure. But I know I submitted all the drawings and everything they requested to, bring some things up that the city wanted up to code. So, I mean, we have made efforts, the owner does make efforts to take care of the property. So, I mean, I can't say that, but I mean, it's just, they'll have to, figure out what you guys want done with those. They're gonna have to hire somebody, I guess.
I'm a little curious as to why the owner isn't here tonight.
Because I'm the one that looked at them and I just told them I would come
Okay.
and talk to you guys to tell you, because I'm the one that had viewed them and, they wanted me to go over and tuck point them, and I went over and looked at them and said, they're not worth tuck pointing at this point. They're in very bad shape, and
Additionally, the tuck pointing work needs to be approved by this commission in a historic district.
yeah, in which I found that out researching to do this. I mean, so I'm trying to take the right steps,
Thank you.
and do it correctly,
Thank you.
because I do know it's an historic district.
Do you and the owner have communication opportunities with the?
No, I deal with the management company, and the management company deals with the owners. I don't deal with the owners personally.
And who's the management company?
Sierra New.
Thank you.
I did meet the owner there one time when I was bidding for the handrail and what the city wanted done. Like, on a code violation or whatever, 2018 or what, I don't know what year it was.
Thereabouts.
And like I said, I know I submitted everything I was supposed to, and then we never heard back anything to get the work approved to go forward with it. So I don't know what happened with all of that. And then, like I said, I went over this year to do that, and I told them, hey, I tried to get a hold of the city to find out if we can demo these, because, they're at the point where they're just they don't look like they're gonna last long. So, and then I was told this is the steps to take. So
I would like to encourage you to understand that this is bigger than just a demolition, and that I appreciate you working with the management company and the owner. But I want you to impress upon them that this will not go away, and it's gonna require some amount of money to fix, obviously.
oh, yeah.
And it's gotta be a serious plan to keep this from deteriorating by neglect. And I appreciate you coming in to help us get through that. But if you could ask them to really focus on those things, that's our next step. We need to really get a strong plan of action for this project.
Well, but
And that's what I'll tell them,
And I appreciate you doing that. I know it's not easy.
No, because, I
they don't
mean,
wanna spend any money, and you're the poor guy that they send down here to.
no, I mean, I know it's a historical house. I just don't think it's worth saving. I mean, it just really serves no,
we would encourage.
they serve no purpose.
Well, but that is the interest of historic districts. They have unique environments filled with quirks and curiosities and document a time that's long gone, and it perhaps did serve a purpose at a certain time and was important to the people who built this house. And really, the thing is to kind of cast a subjective judgment through a modern eye that it has no purpose today is not what owning and operating and maintaining and loving a historic home is really about. So, from that standpoint, it's we just have to agree to disagree But we can only rule by the code that's here in front of us, and knowing that the home is a listed, or is a home in a listed historic district, which the owner would have known acquiring this house, or knew when the district was established that the home was in a historic district, and they're obligated to operate by the code. And even if we each individually decided that, sure, we think it's a great idea to even demolish the house, we have to rule by the code that's in front of us as well. And the code in front of us says very specifically, things must be maintained in a certain way that deal with contributing elements or historic features, and things must be rebuilt in kind, and that is what that is with owning a historic home.
I mean, I totally agree.
So if there's a financial hardship, the applicant can pursue a financial hardship. They really need to read that section of the code as it relates to historic districts. But if they choose to do that, they can do that, but they just need to do that, and the owner needs to do that. The owner needs to understand what that section of the code says.
So, I mean, here's the question. I mean, the rest of the house, the brick and mortar's perfect. It has no issues. Those arches, I mean, bricks weren't made to hang like that. They weren't made to be suspended over air, like, you know, over nothing. That's not a natural aspect for a brick.
I would have to respectfully disagree, sir. There are
No,
brick
because
structures going into the Roman times that have been around for hundreds of years that
But-
exist just like this.
okay, but like I said, if bricks weren't made, if they were made to do that, they wouldn't put brick limb. Between them, they wouldn't have, I mean, it wouldn't have protected anything.
What would be really nice is if you could help be an advocate for what we're trying to convey to the owners. I think it's really important that you understand the severity of us trying to keep this fabric. And I understand your logic based on current construction is spot on, right? It's just, it is, but this is this is a historic place. And part of that fabric is really important to maintain. And so hopefully, you know, if you give it a minute and look at it and say, you know, this is how this was built. And part of it being that historic structure is keeping those key elements like you see that make it distinguishable, right?
And I agree.
Okay.
But my point is, if this was demoed, rebuilt to specs, roof and all,
Okay.
it's gonna do the same thing.
It took 100 years to get there.
No, I mean, it's been that way since, you know, it's been that way longer than that. It's had multiple repairs, so, I mean, I think.
I certainly appreciate you going back for us and talking to the owner. I think that's gonna be a great thing. I know it's not gonna be an easy conversation, but nonetheless, it's a conversation that needs to happen.
There are similar structures to this probably in Columbus, certainly throughout the United States. It's not a uncommon side room for a home.
No, I don't disagree with you.
And many of them are in perfect condition. Why? Because they've been maintained for the last 100 years, because they've had their roofs on, because they've had the roofs repaired, because they've had the parapet walls taken care of. So I don't think that there was anything inherently incorrect in its original structure, because this is a pretty typical structure of the day. And the fact that most of them that have been maintained, all of them that have been maintained are still viable.
Yeah, but, and the thing is too, that you have different aspects of construction. You have some people that will take the time to do it right and some that won't. I mean,
But that's.
and I think a lot of this wasn't done right because.
Sir, it implies exactly what you said, though. It has to be done right.
Yeah.
And the right thing to do, according to the city code, is to propose a plan for temporarily dealing with the issue you have today, and then putting it back correctly, restoring it and maintaining it, and being a guardian of historic fabric, that is what is required of this building in this location.
And if you wanted to really read that code, it's specifically from the city code 3116.11, standards for alteration. And there's a whole bullet list of things, particularly applying to this structure of what we're speaking of today. So it's very clear within that code section of the things we're discussing today.
Okay, I mean,
Be happy to make sure you have, access
now,
to-
if this gets where it has to be demolished and rebuilt, and I know it's got to be as close as possible, which, I don't personally know how close that's going to be color wise, brick wise. Can it be more updated internally,
Oh, yeah,
like steel,
exactly.
a steel column put in,
Yeah.
and possibly a steel beam, and then the brick put on?
I mean, really what you have here is a scenario where you probably need to work with somebody who's a preservation expert.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm gonna tell you.
Who's an engineer.
Yes,
Definitely.
I'm not gonna, it's not out of my realm.
Right.
Certainly, but
There needs to be
Yeah.
architectural plans or something that really show what would be the next step, I think, happening.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think it needs a better structure, something better structurally than
I think that's a
the
good.
brick just hanging out there. I mean, it's just, that's mostly what the art is. The arches have cracks all the way in them. I mean, the brick, when they built it, the brick doesn't go straight across either. They built it and took the brick up around it, which to me, I think they should have ended the row and started a new row, but, I didn't build it, so that wasn't my call. I'm just asking, if,
I like your idea of a modernized internal structural helps that.
okay, so, I mean, that's like, I'm not asking for something that's not impossible, right?
Not at all.
Okay.
I think it's very reasonable.
Because I think personally, if it's rebuilt, I think would be more feasible
I think that's a great idea.
and better in the long terms to use
And
something better internally.
I think that, to take that even a step further, to have that person that does that engineering
Yeah.
and the drawing, and we would need that drawing eventually.
Oh, yeah, of course, I know that.
But yeah, I think you're right on the target.
Now,
I think I appreciate that.
if these arches get rebuilt, are they required to also put the deck back on?
I think that's a discussion point.
That's a whole different discussion.
Okay.
I think we need to at least get this in the right direction. to
That
save
was
this.
that was the earlier citation, all right,
Well, that is just questions, I guess, for the owner is they had an approval package done in 2006, I think is what it's showing in here, that showed rebuilding a deck with a railing. It's just, why didn't they do that?
I have no idea.
That's.
I wasn't involved in this
Right,
property.
and that's,
In
I know
2006.
there's some additional questions you can't answer, but it would be good
Yeah.
to know that of why they chose
Well,
not to do something.
Would they approve putting a railing on top of that?
There was a previous approval,
Okay.
but again, remember the arches were in different condition then.
No, they were, but I'm just saying they weren't any smaller, or bigger in size. I'm just saying the roof, there's a door on the second floor.
Yeah.
So the roof, would be below that door, and if the wall's only coming this high,
Right.
A, it's not up to code.
Right, there
And
wasn't,
B,
there wasn't a approval in the package and
You don't want somebody falling off, so there would have to be some kind of railing around it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so that wouldn't be out of the realm to get a railing approved.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's
We
in
have
this
a-
packet. I mean.
Yeah, see, if you see like that picture, that one picture right there,
Hold on to your thought. Hold on.
Just hold on 1 minute, because it
You
literally,
brought up a really good point.
the package is in there.
It is toward the end.
It'll change.
see, I mean, that's against the house, it's even pulling away from the house.
Oh, computer.
Yep.
There we go.
Okay, now slowly scroll down from this point.
And you'll see some rails pop up pretty easy.
Okay, go a little bit more.
There we go. There we
Okay, so slide down.
Keep going.
because it looked like there was windows
Right.
there at one time and a second.
Keep going.
There's actually right there, well, no, that's not it, there's a door,
I did see the door.
there's a
I've
door,
seen the door.
that's the door right there.
Slide down.
Oh, that's after it collapsed.
Keep going. Great. Yep, there we go.
Okay.
There's a packet that was done with I mean, this is a
Okay.
stamp registered engineer, did a drawing that described exactly what was supposed.
Oh, they had it tall, so they had it done by an engineer.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
really good.
Okay.
So you may even be able to pull that drawing back up and talk to that architect and say, hey, we've already started this project. You know,
Which at that time is evidence that those walls were structurally sound and that they.
Well, I don't. Well, yes, if he had looked at them, yeah,
If that's not so,
I don't
then the
know.
owner probably got a good lawsuit against the engineer that stamped that drawing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have no idea. I'm not gonna comment because I don't know.
That stamped that drawing.
I mean, I would hope he would have seen the arches.
So I would tend to believe that those were structurally sound and would have supported that roof on the date that he
Yeah,
that he stamped those drawings, because an engineer is not gonna stamp a drawing if he doesn't think that that's.
Of course,
Yeah.
2004 is now 19 years ago. And
Right.
so
yeah.
19 years of neglect, we see what happens, how quickly it turns into decay.
Yeah.
but you have the right idea. I like
So
that.
no, that answered the question. That's exactly what I was wondering because like I said, there is a door up there and are usually college students, so you want some kind of railing on it.
And staff, by the way, can provide you copies of any of this
Okay.
material in the file.
I mean, I'll go to the management company and the management company can talk to her and they can go from there because it's, I mean, it's like I said, the brickwork's out of my realm. That's, I mean, I could do the handrail, but I couldn't do the brickwork.
Do you mind if by chance, we would ask staff to email you a copy of this?
Sure.
That way you have it in your hand.
That would be
Say,
fine.
This is a good.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want, is there a certain email you'd like to provide to staff?
I could give you my email. I mean, they should have it, but I can give it to you.
If you want to write it down?
It's B as in boy.
This is, stream, so if you're okay with that.
Okay, Myers.
Well, just
You
jot it
know,
down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't you have, just
Okay.
write it down so it's not.
Oh, it's streamed on air. Okay, I'm sorry.
Unless you.
Famous today.
No, I see. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Those are a little different.
For the whole two people.
You know, copy that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if you don't have any further questions for us, I really appreciate you coming and helping us try to work with this and keep this fabric. It's really important. I think you did a great job with some recommendations of the structural supports and that kind of thing. I think it's a great move.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Would you guys have to approve if they decided to put a roof back on or when, do the roof? Could they do like a secondary inside of the arches, like another, like a support system for that? Like, so it's not all attached to the arches.
I see what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's a way to distribute.
Like, yes, to distribute the weight, not all on the arches.
There's all fair, so where you're at right now, if there's any idea of reuse, as long as they provide drawings that clearly demonstrate something as a concept, I think there's a dialogue that can be had. I think what you have left is a pair of arches with some historic material that's now gone.
Yeah.
But if you said, hey, we'd like to make this an enclosed porch, we'd like to do something with this, I think we would all be amenable.
For rental, I mean, there's a lot of good.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we generally care about what the fabric of those arches will look like. But I
Okay.
think there's actually a lot of ideas that could be come up with. for us.
Just if they just did like the pictures show, I'm just, basically would it hurt to put, a column and a column inside of the arches to help support that where all the weight basically is not on the arches?
I can't speak for everyone, but I think we're really open to listening to those.
Okay.
We've approved similar things to that in the past. We'd have to look at
Yeah.
case by case,
Yeah,
but we have approved things.
I just figured that
Good idea.
if I went to them with that and said, maybe you get an architect or engineer, whatever, to draw plans both ways, with another structure under it. That way you're not putting all that weight and stress on just the arches. sorry.
Makes sense.
And more distribute the weight.
Right.
To
They,
the,
they definitively need to come up with a plan to save the art.
yeah, yeah,
I
okay,
think you're on the right path. I appreciate that. That's-
okay. Yeah, I will,
Anytime you want to reach out to staff,
okay,
I think we'll be discussing this again next month.
okay.
So we'd like to get some feedback from you if you get a chance. Now that staff has your information.
I know,
they're
I'm
gonna
just
try to
hoping I
set it.
didn't open, I mean, I hope that, I just hope the owner don't get mad at me because I opened probably a can of worms.
No.
You know,
No,
everybody's gonna be on it, but I mean, I do feel,
you probably saved them from
I do feel the arches,
more
you know,
difficulties.
well, yeah, they need addressed, period. So,
It's harder for the owner to probably come in having demolished that and then learn that they have to rebuild it and then you have nothing to work with.
yeah,
So it's easier to try and save something and salvage something now while you still have it.
okay,
And people have torn down things that they've had to rebuild. People have painted buildings that they've had to remove all the paint from.
okay.
And
Well, no, that's why I, you know,
You did the right thing.
I'm the maintenance guy, you know, I get work orders and I own my own business, but I do work for them and, they send me a work order and I'm trying to take the proper steps. You know, I could have said, yeah, these look bad, and start tearing them down, and then I would have been in a big world of trouble.
Yep.
But I know that area and I know it's a historic district. And, you know, you guys are you know, there's rules and regulations for that. Let me ask one more question. Well, even if it's, you know, possibly temporary until this gets fixed.
And then that's it. No more questions.
Okay. Is there an issue with me putting something inside of that arch and some supports?
Absolutely not.
No, I think the big takeaway is that if you have to rebuild, that's the route we go.
Yeah.
We're open to looking at modern techniques of construction. Now.
But what I think he said.
Let me finish. It's gonna have to follow some historic precedent, right?
Of course.
So you're gonna have to work with folks and present something,
Okay.
and then we're gonna react to it. I don't know if we have the right expertise in this room right now, from your standpoint.
Yeah.
In terms of drawings to react to,
Okay.
but we need to see some sort of plan.
Yes, of course. I mean, rebuild, I'm not saying change anything.
Yeah.
I'm saying maybe add a few things to help support it.
Yeah,
And
It's
if
a great idea.
it isn't an issue if I put something up now,
And you're
just to help support
you're
those arches.
discussing like a temporary
Yes.
store up.
Yes.
You might take, 2 layers of 1/2-inch plywood.
Yes.
Put them in there, but
Exactly,
as long
maybe.
as you don't deteriorate it anymore.
Yeah, and I was thinking of
That might be
doing
good.
that and putting like a 4x4 post right in the center and maybe some on the edges, just to help support that
But just know
archway.
that might be something that's temporary. We wouldn't approve that as a commission, as a permanent.
No,
But
temporary.
if you did that for a couple months while they're working
Yeah.
through the solution, I encourage that because you're not gonna
That's-
save them.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Can I do it so nothing else happens to
So does it
them?
let go in the meantime?
Yes, and that way,
Excuse me.
you guys don't come back and say, hey, we gotta shut the house down. Because, at least I have a temporary support and I would feel much better with the temporary support until this is resolved and, because I know this is gonna be a process of getting these repaired.
It's already a code violation. Technically, that would require us to have an application to approve that, but it's already in hot of stuff, right?
Okay.
But if you can stabilize it,
Okay,
I think it's.
that's all I want to know.
I can't tell you to do it because it's not a formal action, but I think that you have the right idea to pursue.
Okay.
what you can.
Okay, so,
Probably, staff approve the temporary,
Emergency stabilization.
okay, okay.
I appreciate you thinking.
Oh,
about that.
yeah, I just don't want to, I just didn't want to put up a temporary without asking them, no, you guys gotta take that down. That way, because like I said, I know this, even if this was approved, it's probably something that's not gonna be done until next year when the weather's better.
Sure.
So I'd like to at least get something in there
It's a great idea.
to at least temporary it.
And staff has your email. That's
Okay.
the best
Yes.
email to correspond with those
Yes.
things. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I appreciate you giving that to her. So I'll ask them to reach out to you in
Okay.
a timely fashion and then hopefully we get the ball rolling with this.
Okay,
All righty?
sounds good.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You had some great ideas.
Thank you.
Okay,
Any other items of new business this evening?
No business and no old business.
Having none, I will have a motion for adjournment.
so moved.
Second,
Second.
wonderful, motion in a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes, adjourned at